Hello, everyone. Welcome back to today's story. In this episode, we follow James and Diep at one of the hardest points in their lives. The company is on the verge of bankruptcy. James is drowning in more than $500,000 of debt, and yet he still insists on giving Nye the best, paying $40,000 a year for her schooling, even while Diep is pregnant with their child. Just when the pressure seems unbearable, Diep stumbles across something unexpected in the orchard. A suitcase filled with $1 million. What they decide to do with that money will change not only their future, but also test their courage and trust in ways they never imagined. Stay with us until the very end of this video to see how James and Diep choose their path. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel to help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Your support means the world to us. The morning air hums with life, sunlight cutting through branches as James and Diep walk Nye to school. The child skips happily, her small hands clasped in theirs. But beneath the cheerful steps, both adults carry silent storms. James's eyes, shadowed with fatigue, flicker toward the bright school ahead. He lowers his voice, steady yet heavy. "Are you ready, Nye?" She hesitates, then nods timidly. Diep bends down, brushing a strand of hair from Nye's cheek. "Don't worry, sweetheart. You'll make friends soon," she says with warmth that tries to hide her own unease. Nye smiles, clutching James's hand tighter, while James swallows hard, silently tallying numbers in his head. Debts surpassing $500,000. The tuition check he wrote just yesterday for $40,000. And the gnawing uncertainty of whether the business can even last the year. Yet here he is, walking his daughter to a school where hope costs more than he can afford. As the school gates draw near, James slows his steps. He and Diep share a fleeting glance, wordless yet full of weight. The gate opens like a threshold between love and sacrifice. Nye steps through, waving brightly, her joy untouched by the struggles her parents hide. James forces a smile, raising his hand in return, but as the gates close, his chest tightens. The walk back feels longer, heavier. Beyond the cheerful chatter of children, reality presses hard. James exhales sharply. $40,000 a year, he mutters, half to himself. Diep notices, her face softening. "We'll manage," she whispers, though her voice trembles. By midday, the couple makes their way through the grapefruit orchard. The land stretches wide, trees heavy with fruit, a deceptive picture of abundance. James runs his fingers across the bark of a tree, eyes sharp, calculating. "See this one? About 50 fruits, but pests are already here. If you don't pay attention, you buy a loss, not profit," he explains, his tone tinged with lessons learned the hard way. Diep listens, nodding, though her heart beats to a different rhythm. She glances at James's sunburnt face, sees the lines carved deeper with each passing year of struggle. The debts, the failing contracts, the factory running on fumes. It all piles high, yet he still insists on giving Nye the best education, even as the ground beneath them shakes. A breeze rustles the leaves, carrying with it a whisper of fragility. James squints at a healthy tree, a rare smile tugging his lips. "This one's good," he says, but the smile fades quickly as his mind races back to unpaid loans and creditors' deadlines. They press deeper into the orchard, the smell of citrus sweet, but laced with anxiety. Each step feels like walking a tightrope between survival and collapse. As the sun tilts westward, Diep lingers behind. Her father's voice echoes in her memory, his plea for her to return abroad to help with the overworked factory. She had refused, wanting to stay, to stand by James, to build something here. But now, doubts creep in. Maybe I was wrong, she thinks, staring at the rows of trees. James notices her silence. Your father's still struggling with the factory, he says, gently yet firmly. If you went, it would ease his burden. Diep shakes her head. I don't want to leave, not now. Her voice is steady, but inside, questions burn. What is life for? What is sacrifice worth? She gazes across the orchard, the numbers James rattled off still echoing. 500 trees, 400 million VND. Too much risk, too much uncertainty. Her chest tightens with the weight of decisions that stretch far beyond fruit and land. That evening, as the day's light softens, Diep and Nye walk home together. Nye's face glows with excitement as she recounts her first day. New friends, a kind teacher, even games that made her laugh. Uncle James plays games with me too, Nye adds proudly, her smile bright. Diep smiles, hiding the ache inside. She wishes James had been there, but work and debts chained him away. Still, she listens, holding on to Nye's joy as a lifeline. At home, the scent of simmering broth fills the air. Nye hugs a teddy bear, humming softly, while Diep stirs the pot. Her hands move with routine, but her thoughts are restless. James walks in late, shoulders slumped, face weary. Yet when he sees them, he forces a smile, trying to mask the exhaustion. Dinner passes with small laughter, but as Nye drifts to sleep, James and Diep sit in silence, the weight of reality pressing down. James rubs his temples. The creditors won't wait much longer, he says, voice low, almost breaking. Diep looks at him, her hand instinctively resting on her growing belly. The child inside is a flicker of hope, yet also another responsibility. Her eyes sting, but she steadies her voice. We'll find a way. The next morning, sunlight filters through the orchard again. James and Diep walk the rows, checking for signs of growth, for any glimmer of profit. James crouches to inspect a tree's roots, his mind lost in calculations. But Diep, scanning the ground nearby, notices something strange. A corner of metal peeks out from the soil, half buried beneath weeds. Curiosity stirs. She kneels, brushing away dirt, then tugs hard. To her shock, a heavy suitcase emerges, mud clinging to its sides. James hears the sound and turns, his brows furrowed. What's that? Diep doesn't answer immediately. Her hands tremble as she flips the latches. The case creaks open. Inside, stacks of crisp bills, bound tightly, gleaming under the sun. Her breath catches. James, she whispers, her voice shaking. It's money, so much money. James steps closer, stunned into silence. The weight of their debts, the crushing burden of $500,000, flashes through his mind. His knees nearly buckle. How much is there? He asks, barely daring to breathe. Diep stares at the bundles, trying to count through the blur in her vision. It looks like $1,000,000. For a moment, time freezes. The orchard, the debts, the pressure, all fade beneath the staggering sight of salvation wrapped in green bills. James's hands grip the suitcase, as if anchoring himself to reality. His heart pounds. $1,000,000. Diep looks at him, tears brimming. James, with this, you can pay off everything. No more creditors, no more sleepless nights, and you can save the company. James swallows hard, his mind racing. Fear, relief, disbelief, all collide inside him. But as Diep places her hand over his, steady and resolute, the meaning becomes clear. This isn't just luck. This is a second chance. They closed the suitcase, hearts pounding, a storm of hope and questions swirling. As they walk back, carrying the weight of both burden and blessing, a new chapter looms. One where choices will decide whether this money is their salvation or their undoing. The suitcase sits heavy on the wooden table, its weight more than physical. It presses against the air, filling the room with a silence so sharp it hums. James stands over it, hands braced on the edges, staring at the neat stacks of money like they might vanish if he blinks. Diep lingers nearby, her hands nervously folded over her belly, heart thudding. "It's real," James finally says, his voice hushed, almost reverent. "This is really $1,000,000. Diep nods slowly, her eyes locked on the bills. "With this, you can clear the debts, pay off the loans, and you can keep the company alive." Her voice trembles, but it carries a fierce determination. James exhales, the air shaky as it leaves his chest. For months, he's been drowning in overdue payments, sleepless nights haunted by numbers he couldn't make balance. And now, suddenly, salvation lies in front of him, yet wrapped in mystery. "Where did it come from?" James mutters, pacing. "Money like this doesn't just appear. Someone hid it. Someone's looking for it." Diep steps closer, touching his arm. "James, I know. But think about Nye. Think about the baby. You can't keep running in circles, fighting creditors with nothing but promises." Her words carry both plea and urgency. James stops, gazing at her. The sight of her rounded belly slices through him. This isn't just about survival anymore. It's about giving his family a future. That evening, James makes the first call. One by one, he settles debts. His voice steady, his words sharp. The relief is immediate yet surreal, as though each transaction peels a layer of weight from his chest. By nightfall, $500,000 is gone, but so is the crushing shadow of debt. Diep watches him from across the room, her hands busy with dishes, though her eyes never leave his face. For the first time in months, James breathes without a hitch. "It's done," he murmurs, collapsing into the chair. "We're free. But freedom costs." He looks at the remaining stacks, $500,000 left. Enough to dream, but also enough to tempt. The next morning, James visits the factory. Workers glance up as he strides in. A man reborn. The hum of machines echoes around him, though several still sit idle from months of underfunding. He calls his foreman over. "Start the repairs," he says firmly. "We're putting money back into production. We'll expand, take new orders. No more patching holes." The foreman blinks, shocked. "Mr. James, are you sure? That'll take serious capital." James smiles faintly, a new fire in his eyes. "I have capital. Word spreads quickly. For weeks, creditors had whispered of James's downfall, predicting the company's collapse. Now, rumors twist. James has money. James has paid his debts. James is rebuilding. But while the factory hums with fresh hope, a darker cloud gathers in James's mind. Each night, as he lies beside Diep, he thinks of the suitcase. Who buried it in the orchard? Who might come looking? One night, unable to sleep, he sits up, staring into the dark. What if someone comes for it? He whispers. Diep, half asleep, turns toward him. Then we'll face it. But until then, use it for good. That's all we can do. Her words settle in him like an anchor. Slowly, he nods. Days pass, and life shifts. Nye runs home with laughter in her voice, sharing stories from school. Diep's belly grows, her steps slower, but her smile brighter. And James, for the first time in months, walks with his head high. But not all is smooth. One afternoon, while checking shipments at the factory, a man in a dark suit approaches. His eyes are sharp, his smile thin. Mr. James, I hear your debts have vanished. Quite a miracle, he says, tone laced with suspicion. James stiffens. I worked it out. The man tilts his head. Of course, but miracles usually have a source, and I make it my business to know where money moves. He hands James a card. No name, only a number. Call me if you'd like to stay out of trouble. That night, James tells Diep. Fear creeps into her features, but she steadies herself. We knew it wouldn't be simple, she says, but we can't let fear take everything we fought for. James holds her hand, the warmth of her touch reminding him of why he fights at all. Weeks turn into months. The company grows stronger, orders increase, and the workers return with renewed faith. James begins planning expansions, his vision stretching further than it ever had. Yet deep inside, he knows their fortune rests on borrowed ground. One evening, as the family eats together, Nye asks innocently, Daddy, why are you smiling so much lately? James chuckles, ruffling her hair. Because sometimes, sweetheart, life gives you another chance. Diep watches him, her heart swelling with both pride and worry. She knows the road ahead is still uncertain, but for now, their home glows with hope. Late at night, when the house is quiet, James slips outside, staring toward the orchard. He remembers the day they found the suitcase, remembers the rush of disbelief and the flood of relief, and he wonders, was it luck, fate, or a test? Whatever it is, he knows one truth. As long as he has Diep and Nye, as long as he has this family, he'll fight to turn this mysterious fortune into a lasting legacy. The moonlight casts his shadow long across the soil where secrets once hid. James breathes deeply, determination settling in his chest. Tomorrow, the battles will continue. At the factory, with the market, and perhaps with whoever buried that money. But tonight, he allows himself one rare gift: peace.